four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. Welcome to my channel, Jay Cutler TV, and make sure to stay in tune with the newest and updated videos. Subscribe below, guys. Thank you so much for following along.
Guys, it is Coach Eric Broser here at Gold's Gym, the Mecca. Please excuse the sweat. It is very hot in here this week. Actually, it's been a very hot summer, over 90 degrees. There's no air conditioning in this gym, so you better be ready to train hard and sweat. Anyway, we're here for a Be Built by Broser, new episode, and we're going to show you a couple interesting things today. I'm going to show you a don't and do on the seated calf raise. A lot of people who do seated calf raises do it the incorrect way. Most of the people do, and I've come up with a better way to do it so you can really isolate the soleus muscle. And we're also going to do a good superset for the long head of the tricep, which is the largest head of the tricep, the meat of the tricep. Really gives you a lot of size in the arm. I'm going to show you a good superset to really smash that head of the muscle and give your triceps a new boost of growth. Okay guys, so we're doing the seated calf raises, and as you can see, this is a don't. What Dave is doing here is he's doing very short, choppy reps. He's not getting a stretch at the bottom. He's not going all the way to the top for a contraction. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is leaning back. A lot of people lean back on the machine. They pull with their hands, and they're really not using their calves. They're using more of their arms and forearms to keep the weight moving. This is also incorrect. So I've devised a method of doing this to make it very strict, which he's going to set himself up for now. You see he's going to lean his torso forward. He's going to grab underneath the bench, and he's going to use a full range of motion all the way from the bottom up to full squeeze. That's the way you properly work the soleus, which is right here on the side of the calf. It gives width to the calf on the outside, and it's worked mainly during seated calf raises. And again, his torso is leaning forward, which is putting the center of gravity right over where he needs it, forcing optimal contractions of the soleus muscle. That's how you do it. Okay, so the first exercise is an overhead dumbbell tricep extension. We're going to be sitting straight up, and we're going to be using the bar on the Smith machine for this one. And the key to this movement is to sit straight up, bring your elbows back a little bit behind your head so that you can bring the dumbbell down and get a full stretch. You've got to get that full stretch in order to fully activate the long head of the tricep. Then you push up without moving your elbows at all and squeeze to the top, and that's the way you get the perfect contraction on that movement. The second movement in the superset is a Merlin close grip bench press done on the Smith machine. Now, it's a very unique movement because, as you can see, we have the elbows out, we have the hands turned in on the bar, just palming the bar. We're bringing the bar down to the upper chest, which forces the elbows out to the side, and by doing this, we're working the inner head of the tricep, or the inner head of the tricep, which is the long head and the meat of the tricep. This gives you a very, very strong contraction. This way you can't use as much weight. You have to do it slow and controlled, go all the way to the bottom for a full stretch, and all the way to the top to get a full contraction. Great superset for the triceps. Okay guys, this is Ask Merlin Monday, even though today is Wednesday. But this question was asked on a Monday many weeks ago. We filmed it before, and unfortunately the microphone got screwed up and we couldn't hear it. So this is for you, Sabrina Lynn. You wanted to know how quickly do people put on body fat generally after competitions, and is it harder to get that body fat off from competition to competition?
Bar nutrition.
And the answer to that question is kind of difficult because it really depends on you, and it depends on you and your genetics. It depends on what you do after the show, because you have some people who are very good after a show if they know they have another show coming up, and they will only have maybe one cheat meal and then they'll go back on their diet. If you have 1 or 2 cheat meals, you're not going to put on any body fat at all. You're going to put on a little bit of water weight, and as long as you jump right back in on your diet, you're going to be fine. You won't put any body fat. The trouble starts when you start doing full days of cheats, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you're going to start to accumulate body fat. Now again, of course, there are some genetic factors involved. You know, some people just have faster metabolisms, and some people are more prone to put on body fat more quickly. So it really is an individual thing. But the key is really to not go too crazy after a show. I think what you need to do is gauge, and you know, obviously if you have a show within 2 weeks of the show you just did, maybe 1 cheat meal is enough. If it's 4 weeks, maybe 2 cheat meals. If it's extended out, you have it 16 weeks to go, you might be able to be okay to have, you know, a cheat meal a day for a week. It really depends, but you have to gauge it. You have to watch yourself and make sure that your body is really just retaining water more so than putting on fat. And you know, you should be able to tell that by looking in the mirror. And is it harder to lose that fat from show to show? I mean, not really. I mean, it's really the same process, and again, it really depends on how much you allow yourself to put on. I think that the key here is that to understand that you need to, you know, really watch yourself after a show. Just understand that the body is so deprived of calories, carbohydrates, salt, and it's so worn down. Usually the metabolism is actually slowed down from working so hard for so long that it's very easy to start accumulate body fat after a show. So I would say have a cheat meal, go back to your diet, maybe a few days later another cheat meal, space them out a little bit, keep your cardio up, keep your weight training up, and really keep it under control if you have one show very close to another, and that way you should be okay. Okay, another question from Maximilian. I like this question, so I'm going to answer it for you, buddy. You want to know what's your best advice for those bodybuilders that are in the progress season, and they want to, of course, gain size, but they also want to increase their strength on some of the main lifts. And that's kind of common. I know a lot of guys who, you know, even though they're bodybuilders mainly, they're not powerlifters, they still do enjoy getting stronger in movements like deadlifts, squats, and bench presses. And there's really nothing wrong with that as long as you balance it out with your hypertrophy gaining program. So my advice to people who want to do that is to, you know, perhaps maybe to work on 1 power lift a week, 2 power lifts a week at most, and maybe if you were to say make it bench press and that was the movement that you really wanted to expand and get higher numbers on, you know, start off with the bench press as your first movement when your strength is the highest. You know, do a few warm-up sets, and then do, you know, 3 to 4 or even 5 sets in a very low rep range. You know, 2 to 4 reps. If you're looking to increase your 1 rep max, you may do a couple of singles, make sure you have a spotter. So in other words, start the workout with that power lift and then go from there into your muscle gaining work, where you're going to be working more in the rep range of 8, 12, 15, and working more isolation exercises, perhaps your flies, you know, your cable crossovers, and of course things like dumbbell presses and all those types of movements. If you're doing it with squats, again, start off with squats when you're at your strongest, and, you know, do a few warm-up sets and then work down to that 2 to 4 range and maybe do a couple of singles as long as you have a spotter by, and then go on to your movements like leg presses and perhaps hack squats and leg extensions and lunges. So just start out with those movements, but I would say just don't overdo it. I wouldn't really think, I think maybe it'd be best to maybe 1 week work on the bench press, the following week work on the squat, the following week on the deadlift, and then go back to the bench press and cycling it like that. If you, for any reason, want to really focus on it, like as if you're some of the bodybuilders who actually enter powerlifting meets, you may have to work those movements a little bit more often because you need to develop that neurological force to the muscle so that you're able to push up higher poundages and work quicker. So I think that's the best way to balance it out. Work on 1 power lift a week and mix them up, and you should be able to get stronger and at the same time get bigger too.